Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. I have a really interesting young lady to introduce you tonight. Holly Carroll is her name. She is a realtor in Muskoka, but she's got like the most interesting business model because she just spent a month in the Caribbean selling real estate from there. I see her advertising real estate in Beverly Hills and California. And she's got an interesting background because she was the Miss Canada Tourism in 2017. She's now an international luxury realtor. She specializes, as I mentioned, in waterfront properties, primarily in Muskoka. But she also does a lot of podcasts and posts about positive thinking, about coaching, about being, as she called it, heart-centered and focused on making an impact in this world by inspiring others to follow their dreams. Sounds pretty impressive. Holly Carroll, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So tell me a little bit about, number one, how you got into real estate. And number two, what was this Miss Canada Tourism all about?
So I got into real estate because I was in network marketing sales actually while I was a model. And people kept telling me that I should get into real estate. So I heard people say that all the time. And I'm like, no, I'm focused on this. And I actually started my real estate license or the course in Los Angeles when I was living in Los Angeles. And I was trying to get a visa through my modeling career there. And that didn't work out. So I said to myself, when I get home, I'm going to start the real estate course and see how that goes. And it was the best decision I made. I wish I started a long time ago. And then Miss Canada Tourism, somebody actually asked me to enter the pageant. And I thought, and I was a little bit, I was going through a hard time in my life because I just moved back home from Los Angeles, went through a bad breakup, didn't really know where I wanted to go. And somebody said, you should enter this contest. And I said, you know what, why not? What do I have to lose? And I didn't know back then how incremental it would be to my career, who I am, the development of who I want to be. I didn't realize how powerful it would be for me. I just kind of did it because I really didn't have anything else going on. And I did it and I won. And that's sort of how it started, where I really ramped up philanthropy, giving back, helping younger women, helping women. And so the two kind of go hand in hand for me.
Okay, so let's roll back then. Tell us about your modeling career. How'd you get involved in that?
I had always wanted to be a model since I was 7 years old.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up actually in a very small town called Paisley. And then I wanted to be a model. So my mom actually moved me to Aurelia. And Aurelia is where I went to high school. And I did a modeling school in Barrie. And then it was close enough to the city that's where I kind of started my modeling career. I went to a modeling competition in Toronto, and there was agents from all around the world. And I started my first modeling career contract in Taipei, Taiwan.
Really?
The rest is history. Yeah. So I was an international model, and now I'm trying to become an international realtor. So it works.
And how long were you in Taiwan?
3 months. So
Okay.
at the ripe age of 14, I was in Taipei, Taiwan. It's crazy when I think about looking back, how much kudos I had and how much I'm like, sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm going on vacation by myself, but I wanted to be a supermodel and nobody was stopping me.
Tell me a little bit about that career. Where else did you model and what brands or fashions did you model for?
I did a whole bunch of fashions and I did runway and print. I went to Taipei, I went to Japan, I went to Paris, I went to Milan, New York, Montreal, of course, Toronto. So I did this circuit and I did a lot of catalog work. So a lot of posing and runway. I worked for Versace. The list goes on.
Sounds like every young girl's dream.
Yeah. It was a beautiful life. And I'm very, very grateful for all of the things it taught me. A lot of times I was so grateful that I had my mom and a very good family, because I saw a lot of women sort of go the opposite way and sort of get taken advantage of. And that's another reason why I am so heart-centered and so focused on mindset, manifesting, and helping people, because easily any market can sort of not necessarily ruin you, but can take you in the wrong direction.
Right. And then you got involved in network marketing and you moved from Los Angeles back to Toronto. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
And then real estate found you.
Real estate kind of fell into my lap and I thought, hey, why not? I started 4 years ago. The first year I didn't really do too much because I was trying to do everything. I was still trying to do the modeling career. I was doing events. I was trying to do real estate, but I wasn't really focused on it enough. And it wasn't really until I moved to Muskoka that it really blew up. It was just the right fit for me. Obviously, it was the right timing. I love marketing Muskoka.
So why did you choose Muskoka?
To be honest with you, when I got my real estate license, I wanted to trade in Muskoka. But at that time, it wasn't really a big thing, or at least in my mind, it wasn't. So I thought, living in the city, so I thought, I should go and kind of, go through boot camp in the city and learn from the best. So I always had it in the back of my mind that I wanted to sell in Muskoka. And during the pandemic, I kept going up to Muskoka because it was just so beautiful. And so I was like looking around and I thought, why don't I just try here? I mean, my real estate career hadn't really taken off in the city. So it's not like I didn't really have anything to lose. And I do like that small town feel because I am from a small town. So it's got that small town feel with a very huge aspect on luxury. So it really fit for me.
And where are you sort of centered in Muskoka? In Gravenhurst or Ballard or what?
So our office, the agency, is downtown Bracebridge. It's a beautiful office, indoor, outdoor fire pit. You'll have to come by. But I live on Lake Penn in Huntsville.
On Lake Penn in Huntsville. We're going to come back and talk a little bit about the markets, and I want to know what's going on with resort real estate as well. But, it just sounds like you've had a fascinating career, and then you've evolved from Muskoka to international real estate, and you've been selling in the Caribbean. Tell me, how does that connect?
Yeah, the agency really connects that. So the agency has huge global reach, and the agency Bahamas just opened up. So I'm trying to figure out how I can help them there. And I want to branch off to everywhere. So because of my international sort of presence, I know a lot of people that potentially might want to buy, like the snowbirds in Canada that might want to go to the Bahamas. So it's just networking. And that's how it started.
And then you're also selling in Hollywood?
No, not yet.
Oh, I thought I saw you post something about California real estate.
So our brokerage, the head office is in Beverly Hills. So I would absolutely love to sell there. But right now it's just connecting people. So I do know, obviously I've made friends with a lot of the people that work for the Beverly Hills office. So in the event that I have a buyer or even a seller, I can connect and they can help.
What a great job. I want to sign up. Sounds fantastic. We're going to take a break for some messages and be back in just 2 minutes with Holly Carroll. We're going to talk both about the real estate market and where it's going. And then we're going to talk a little bit about her podcasting and coaching, where she's trying to motivate people in this heart-centered leadership that she talks about. Stay with us, everyone. We'll be back in 2 minutes with Holly Carroll. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. My guest tonight is Holly Carroll. She is a real estate agent in the Muskoka area, but also in the Caribbean. And it sounds like she's starting an international career in that regard. She's a former fashion model, and then she lived in Los Angeles, moved to Toronto, got involved in real estate, and in 2017 was Miss Canada Tourism, which sounds like it was an interesting gig and a little bit of a gig that really changed trajectory for you. And so that's probably a story that we want to delve into a little bit more later on. But let's take a step back. Real estate market is something that everyone's been talking about. Interest rates are going up, have gone up, are going up. Volume is down. People are wondering, is it a correction? Is it a crash? It is a bubble burst? Or is it, oh no, don't worry, just be happy and things are going to be okay? What's your assessment?
I think it's Normalizing after what happened. I think a lot of people are comparing it to a worldwide pandemic, which is not something that's normal. So I think it's normalizing. What I really want to focus on is what we can do during these unpredictable times. And as realtors, it's time to plant as many seeds as you possibly can. So focus on the things that you can control. So we can't control where this market is going. There's nothing that we can do while it normalizes. But we can focus on marketing. We can focus on going to community events. We can focus on shaking hands and kissing babies. We can focus on throwing our own events so that when whatever this correction happens, people know who we are. So I think I've seen a lot of people panic and hide. Buyers, sellers, realtors, that's the opposite of what you should do. I think we should get out there. I think we should keep an eye on the market, plant as many seeds as we can, and just focus on marketing.
Okay, so that's a good suggestion for realtors. What about real people? What should they be doing?
Well, the buyers, I think, should get together with realtors and obviously see what they think. I think we should keep an eye on the market. I don't think that it's a bad time to get into real estate if you're a buyer. I think it's a great time to buy. I think that even still, it's a good time to sell, but I think that you just have to manage your client's expectations. So as a buyer or a seller, I think we just need to be a little bit more realistic on prices.
So is normalize a politically correct version of crash?
No.
What's normalized?
It's not a crash. Normalize it. Well, first of all, the interest rates that were going on during the pandemic, that's not normal. So the interest rates are almost going back to what they were, and they're not even going back to how high they were. So people are freaking out because they probably made some crazy investments during the pandemic that weren't normal, and now they have to normalize their expectations.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Brian?
Sure. So I agree. I think interest rates are going up, and I think that the historically low interest rates we had in the last couple of years were outrageously low by historic standards. And we obviously did that because the central governments around the world didn't want the economies to stall. That said, what that means is that prices should come down. Volumes are down. I'm not sure about in Muskoka, but volumes are down in the Toronto area by something like 47%. But prices are only down single digits. Some people think that that means that, it's just a slight correction. Other people say, no, if the volume is down 47% and the prices are down only 6.5 or something like that percent, it's just that people haven't yet come to terms with the price reductions they're going to have to put in place. And I myself, probably once an hour, I get an email about a price correction or new price or better price or come look at this. And even condos, and again, not a lot of condos in Muskoka, but even condos are reducing deposits from 20 to 15 to 10 down to 5%. So deposits on condo are coming down. And so I guess the question is, are we going to see prices follow sales and be down like 47%, which isn't really, in my mind, a return to normal, but a pretty big correction.
Well, when you say return to normal, do you mean a lot lower than what's normal? Like you can't go back. You still have to go up from real estate, but it's just not climbing as fast as it was. The thing about Muskoka is it will always hold its value. I mean, I specialize in waterfront property, so it always have that sort of overpaid price tag, but I have seen things go a lot lower. I have seen agents not really know how to price the market as well. And that's why you're seeing so many price reductions, because we really don't know how to price it, because how you price a listing is you look at comps and what is sold. Well, what is sold was in a completely different world than what we're living in right now. So it's hard to say where the market will go. Obviously, people are getting a lot more deals. But what was happening before is buyers were getting pushed out and bullies were coming in, and the price was getting pushed up because there were so many buyers. What I'm seeing now is that things are sitting on the market for a lot longer, but they're kind of sitting on the market for a normal time from what we were used to. And people are price reduction because they're used to it selling in a couple of weeks. So people are panicking. So again, manage your client's expectations and manage your expectations as a client.
Okay, so some people believe that in a real estate correction, crash, whatever, and particularly in a kind of a recessionary environment, it is resort properties that go down the most. It was then sort of next suburban, out of the urban area properties, second homes, and luxury homes. And it's the sort of the $1 million or $750,000 single family home that's the primary residence that holds the most, because people need somewhere to live. They gotta live, but they'll give up the expensive home, or they'll give up the second home. What are you seeing? Is Muskoka falling less than Toronto, more than Toronto, the same as Toronto?
You're not wrong with that statement, but I haven't seen a lot of people panic, give up their places, and not still have a value in Muskoka. I just feel like Muskoka will always hold that value, and the people that are buying at $3 million, this interest rate doesn't bother them as much. So if you're buying in Muskoka and a second home, you probably have the money already. It's not something that you're leveraging here and leveraging there. If you're kind of penny pushing, it's harder to get a second home, period. Obviously, there was a complete slowdown because people got scared. They didn't know what was going on. But I still have buyers looking, and I still have clients selling in the Muskoka area. Yes, prices are going down. No argue there.
Is
Prices
it different between the high-end homes on Lake Joe versus the lower-end homes on some of the other lakes?
In terms of what?
The drop.
Everything's dropping.
Everything's dropping.
Yeah, so the luxury homes are dropping.
So if I had to ask you, where's the opportunity? And I said, for an example, my proposition was where it was bid up the most was the crazy stuff on the waterfront in Lake Joe, versus maybe a different proposition would be, no, those people are outrageously rich anyway, and so therefore they're not gonna sell, and so therefore the big opportunity is on the smaller lakes, because that's where people really wanted to go into Muskoka. They overreached, they overlevered, and now given a recessionary environment, higher interest rates, etc., they're going to be under pressure. So where is it that I should focus? The waterfront expensive places on Lake Joe, or the secondary smaller lakes around there?
The opportunity is on both. So it is actually on both, but the price tag is different on the lower and and on the big three. So if you were looking for on the big three, which we know is Rosso, Lake Joe, and Lake Muskoka, chances are you probably wouldn't be able to find anything within the last 2 years unless you wanted to pay extra. So if you wanted to go the big three, now's the time to get it. If you want a cottage that's maybe a little bit reasonable, we'll find you something on a smaller lake. The opportunity for a buyer is there everywhere.
Okay.
Because
I've got a second home in the United States. It would be worth 2 or 3 times as much on the big three. Some people think that Muskoka is way overpriced in a world, in a sort of North American or world market standpoint. What's your response to that?
I agree, but that's not, you're paying for it. I can't change the price of what's happening by my comment. I think Muskoka has a higher price tag, yes, but people know that and people are coming here.
Okay, so we admit Muskoka has a higher price tag. What's your pitch then? Why is it worth this high premium?
Have you been to Muskoka?
I've been there several times this summer.
If you've been here, you know why. It's beautiful. It's stunning. I mean, you like, and if you're buying, the vacancy rate on rental has not gone down. The price tag on rental has not gone down. So if you want to make an investment on any of the lakes, you're going to make some money. You're going to make some money renting it out on Airbnb. I'm not sure if you have a property like that. I'm sure you know people that do. There's a lot of money to be made because the price tag's there.
But it's, I don't know, one season. You know, Collingwood is 4 seasons.
It's not one season. It is not one season. It's all year round. There's people up here that are snowmobiling. There's people up here that love getting away for a winter wonderland. That is incorrect, because since the pandemic, it is a full 4-season place to come.
And the traffic
it's beautiful
on the 400
I
is
can't do
terrible.
anything about that. So the thing is you just don't come on those days. It's not always horrible. It's horrible on Friday nights and Sunday night. All day Sunday, I'll give you.
The only good thing is stopping at Weber's for a burger.
And you're going to be waiting in line. Listen, I agree with you. It is insane prices, but it's beautiful. And you're not going to lose. You're not going to lose. Because even if you didn't want to come up anymore and you notice that maybe I overpaid, then let's rent it out for you and get your money back. Or we'll sell it and get your money back.
Okay, and tell me about Muskoka versus, Georgian Bay versus Kawarthas, et cetera. Why is it worth the premium to those other places?
It's the things around it and the people around it, in my opinion. So in Georgian Bay, it's not as easy to get into your boat and go to cities on the water. There's not as much of a boutique lifestyle. There's not as much environment going on. So like if you were to compare it to Kawarthas doesn't have as nice lakes. It doesn't have as nice restaurants. It doesn't have as nice availability. Muskoka has that availability. It's got that richness all around. And you can get into a boat and go, to the liquor store. You can go shopping. You can go to a restaurant. Georgian Bay doesn't have that as much. And Georgian Bay is a bit further. So that is also takes in consideration for the value. And most people are coming from probably the city or the GTA. So once you go a little bit more north, it devalues your property.
Because of the distance, the time, the commute. Okay.
The distance, the time, and the commute. Correct.
Okay. So
I have seen, yes.
Waterfront. We're not making any more waterfront.
Yeah, we're not.
And is that what it is in the end? Is that,
of course.
Unlike almost any other real estate market, condos, we can build more condos. Even though we sort of are sprawled out in suburban sprawl in Mississauga and Brampton and Caledon, there is more sprawl availability, particularly if we build this 413. And cottages on small lakes. We've got other small lakes that you can put cottages on, but you're not building any more waterfront on the Muskokas.
Supply and demand, it will raise the prices. I have seen a lot more people start to spread out a bit because, like you said, we're not making it. There's no more waterfront. Can't dig another lake and call it Lake Muskoka. So I have seen, Huntsville's price tag go way up because it's close enough to Muskoka. Obviously, people are more attracted to the north, but again, you're getting a bit more of a deal. Muskoka is going to always hold that price tag because there is not enough of Muskoka for how many people that want to come up here.
You've got a great picture on the wall behind you that is a group of 7. But it's of Georgian Bay. It's of rocky shore and trees. It's not of the lush landscape of Muskoka. So why is that the image of Canada's North, not Muskoka?
I have a whole bunch of the group of 7s. That's just the one that's on this wall. But I sell all over. I don't just sell Muskoka. I sell Georgian Bay as well.
Oh, okay. Tell me about islands versus mainland.
Much cheaper because it is that season. It's liability should you choose to rent it. It's harder to get to. It's harder to do renos. It's harder to do everything, to be honest. So it's much, much cheaper to buy an island property than it is obviously inland. But people are still buying them. There's a novelty. In my personal opinion, I don't love island properties because the novelty wears off very quick.
Just because of the hassle of getting to it.
Yeah, the hassle to getting to it. And most of the places that you're going to buy in Muskoka, you will probably have to put a little work into because it's still old Muskoka that we're trying to ramp up. So think about getting supplies there, thinking about getting workers there, thinking about trying to do any type of renovation. It's a headache. And you can't go there, until the ice completely freezes. If you want to get on a snowmobile, then you can go, but that's hard to do.
One of the new sort of developments, at least I think, in Muskoka. You're up in Huntsville area, so Deerhurst would have been one of the original ones. But there's a bunch of resorts and condominium developments, whether it's Muskoka Bay or the stuff around, I don't even know what it's called, but that JW Marriott that used to be, what was it, Red Leafs or something like that. Mm-hmm. What do you think of the condo resort investment opportunity versus the old traditional single family cottage?
I think it's great. I think that there's a lot of people that don't want the commitment of having a cottage because it is a lot of work to have a cottage. There's a lot of people too that aren't ready to get rough and get really into the Muskoka. So I've sold Muskoka Bay, and I sold it to city people that really were city people, and they wanted to be in Muskoka, but they didn't want to, have this cottage and have to do all the things that come with having a cottage. However, in an investment point of view, it's always going to hold more value and appreciate more if you get a cottage, a detached cottage, than it is if you get a condo. But there's more condos going up. There's Upper Vista that's coming in Bracebridge as well. It's a great opportunity to get into the market. It's obviously cheaper. So it just depends on what you're looking for and what kind of return you're looking for.
So you, bottom line, think that there are some buying opportunities we haven't while there still may be some correction, you call it normalization, not correction, but normalization to occur. You think it's a good time to start looking?
I think it's a really good time to start looking. There's a lot of potential for buyers right now. People are price reduction. People are kind of panicking. So let's take advantage of the market and start buying, because you were pushed out a lot the last 2 years. A lot of buyers were pushed out. So now's your time to have a look at the market. I can help you.
Holly, if people want to contact you, if they do want your help, how do they do that best?
The best is Instagram, but if people don't have Instagram, I'm on the agency website.
And the agency is?
The Agency Muskoka.
The Agency Muskoka, Holly Carroll. We're going to take a break for some messages, and we're going to come back after the break and talk a little bit about some of the podcasts and coaching that she does, because it's interesting that she's taken this platform that she's got as the former Miss Canada Tourism, and I guess as a former model, and now as a real estate agent, and really gets out there on Instagram and Facebook and in podcasts and things like that, and really tries to put forward this positive energy, this positive outlook on life, this positive attitude that is kind of inspiring. We're going to take a break and come back in just 2 minutes with Holly Carroll. Stay with us, everybody. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. I'm having a lot of fun today chatting with Holly Carroll. She is a very impressive young lady. She is a former model. She's traveled, it seems like, around the whole world, modeling in catalogs and on runways and other stuff. And then she lived in Los Angeles. Where'd you live in Los Angeles?
West Hollywood for the most of it.
I lived in Sherman Oaks. So across the mountain. And then she moved back to Toronto, and she says she went through a tough time. We haven't talked about that, so maybe we'll come back because tough times are often what define who you end up becoming. But in 2017, she ended up becoming Miss Canada Tourism, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. And then launched a real estate career. But in that whole process, also has really gotten into sort of being a coach, being a podcaster, talking about positive thinking, about positive attitudes, about eliminating feelings of inadequacy, things like that, which I really want to focus on. And so maybe, Holly, you could tell us a little bit about how you got into this and what is the message that you're trying to deliver. And you talk a lot about eliminating feelings of inadequacy. Why is that so important to you?
Well, happiness just rings a bell right there. I think that no matter how rich, talented, or successful you think you are, ultimately how you treat people is how it's going to define your happiness. So like, no matter what you want to do, whether it be real estate, whether it be marketing, whether it be a radio show host, it's important how you treat people, and it's important what you do and your vision and what you want to do in your life. For me, if I try to tell a lie in a real estate transaction, or if I am unkind, I don't have the luxury to do so, because then I can't sleep, and then I feel bad, and then it bleeds on my relationships, and then The success is just out the window. So it's important to me how you go about doing your life, whatever you choose to do. So I really want to inspire people and motivate people to do things the kind, conscious way.
Well, okay, great. But how'd you get into that? You were a model, then you were Miss Canada Tourism. Now all of a sudden you're doing these presentations, webcasts, coaching, etc. Did you take some courses? Did you get motivated by some mentor? Did you go on a what's the guy that makes you walk on coals or something like that?
Tony Robbins. I did.
Okay. Did you walk on coals?
I sure did.
So did I.
So it's definitely not all of a sudden. I have been doing this since I was young. I think what really triggered it is when I was starting modeling. Aside from my mom, I didn't really have someone to really look up to and to really guide me in the right direction. And that led to some things that, I had to sort of grow into or grow out of. So I've been a personal development junkie for a long time. So the things that you hear on these podcasts, like I actually say them all the time on a daily basis. So this is me. This is kind of how I live and breathe. I did get a coach. I've had many coaches. The most recent coach that I had in the course that I took really propelled me to actually go online and podcast and really kind of shout it from the rooftop, this sort of values that I have. But I've always
rooftop. Really, that's interesting.
Well, shout it from a rooftop is more of a metaphor to come on podcast. But I have this burning flame inside me that wants to help other people live consciously and do the right thing in whatever business they want to get into. So yes, I have a coach. She helps. I have many coaches. I've taken many courses primarily on this subject, on mindset, on manifesting, on following your dreams, making your dreams bigger, really figuring out who you are and your potential and your inner beauty. If that makes sense.
Is this the secret that's just all about sort of dreaming big?
Yeah. It is. You mean the book, The Secret?
Yeah, the book, the movie.
Yeah, I definitely resonate with that a lot, the law of attraction. What you put out in the universe, what you put out is what you're going to ultimately get back. So I do talk a lot about that. Whatever you dominantly think about is what you will be. So that is definitely
what you dominantly think about will be what you will be. Really?
Yes.
So you've got this thing about recognizing negative habits, negative patterns, and how to avoid them. How do you recognize negative patterns?
Well, you check in with yourself, and if you're having a lot of negative thoughts, then it's time to sort of be a little bit more self-aware on those. Negative habits usually come after the negative thought. So that would be little things like maybe just telling a fib, maybe, not eating healthy, drinking, doing drugs. These are all negative habits that eventually will just destroy you. So it's the daily things that you do that will either propel you up or set you back.
Okay, so lots of people can recognize those negative things. What's the secret to avoiding them and doing something different?
Replacing them with something better.
How do you do that?
You do it. You replace them with something better. Stop drinking.
I think that's interesting. There's been lots of studies that have suggested that all of us have got these triggers in life that trigger something. And to get rid of the trigger is really difficult. But to replace a bad habit following a trigger with a good habit following a trigger is possible. So for an example, when I'm feeling depressed, do I open a bottle of wine or scotch, or do I go for a walk? And so knowing that I'm going to have that trigger, I'm going to have that trigger. But thinking about a different replacement of for that trigger, a different and far more positive habit is potentially the right way to create that. You also talk about finding a niche in your field. Lots of people don't know what they want to do. They want to be a model. They want to be an actress. They want to be a singer. They want to be a multi-tier marketer. How do you
Yep.
find that niche? How do you find that you really want to be a real estate broker in Muskoka? How do you find that niche? How do you find your passion?
You could try different things until it feels right. I think that's a personal question for everyone. I found my niche. Thank God, I love it. But I didn't start in that niche, and I had to try new things, and I had to see what really felt good. I think that if it feels good, it's your niche. I also think that it probably has a lot to do with sort of things that you've already done. So let's say if you're a mom, your niche could be working with other moms. Like you already kind of feel that, you embody that. So again, it's kind of like that law of attraction, like we were just talking about. Like whatever you kind of are, focus on who you are already, and then you'll attract the people that align with you. And that may help you find your niche.
Did you go through? You mentioned that you had a dark time, a struggle time when you moved back from Los Angeles. You mentioned a breakup. Was that challenging?
It was very challenging.
Can you share
And I
anything
did,
about that with us?
absolutely. It was very challenging. And like you said, I opened up a bottle of wine. I didn't I didn't do the right positive actions to get me through it. I took the other route, and you can imagine how that didn't help. And I kept putting myself through the rabbit hole, which essentially attracted worse people into my life and essentially made it worse and worse. And it took me a while to get out of that rut. I was saying that I was going to do all these big things. I was sort of saying that I was a conscious liver and I was a motivator, and I was going to do these things, but I wasn't actually embodying them. I wasn't really living it up to my potential or living up to my integrity. I was still holding on to that lifestyle that essentially at the time was making me feel better, but it wasn't doing anything for my health or happiness.
So how'd you get out of that?
I got help. I got help to get out of it.
What
Yeah.
kind of help?
Sobriety help.
And what do you do today?
I do daily habits. I help other people through their struggles, and I pay attention to what makes me feel good and what doesn't make me feel good. I check in with myself. I pray, and I'm really grateful for the struggles that I went through, because I know that at any time it could get back. So I definitely remember where I came from.
Was it difficult? Was it challenging?
It was. It really was. It was difficult to sort of stop the habits that I had already created for myself, because my mind was justifying them as well. But I'm so glad I did, because life has never been better. I have better connections with my family. I have better connections with just people I meet. I have better connections with my friends. I'm successful.
How long did it take?
I mean, in its entirety, I would say 2 years. But once I finally got serious, 3 months for me to really, really get focused and aligned.
And what's the
But
message?
it's a daily thing. I'm still doing it. I'm still a work in progress. It's not done.
What's the message to people from your experience?
Do the work, do the inner work. You can't hide from that.
And for you, it was sobriety. It was a coach. It was or a few coaches. It was a mentor, and it was a move back home, and or at least to somewhere closer to home, and then a new occupation.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of that going on still during all of that. The Muskoka move really helped. I just was tired of not living up to my potential and, almost essentially wasting my life and wasting my potential.
Wasting your life? Seriously? You had so much success.
I know. And you know what? And from the outside, that's what it looked like for a very long time. It really did. but in the inside, I wasn't happy. I remember watching a sunset in Costa Rica, and it was this beautiful sunset, and so many people were lined up on the beach. And at the time, I was going through a bad relationship, and everyone thought it was so beautiful. And I thought, why can't I feel this like everybody else? Why don't I think this is so beautiful? And I thought to myself, I need to quit drinking, and I need to figure out why this is not a moment that is shared in happiness. It wasn't just to stop drinking. It wasn't that I just stopped drinking and got serious. It's that I started to then see the patterns and see my character defects and see my inner work and where I needed to grow, where I needed to heal. And you can't do that if you're just going to block and if you're just going to avoid.
Sounds like you've gone through a lot.
Yeah, but it's great. We all got to go through it.
And you feel like you're through it?
I am. I very much am.
The beach, ocean, the Caribbean, is it important to you?
It's very, very important to me. The water is my soul.
This is a really inspiring conversation. I really appreciate it. It's interesting that you've gone through such tough times, but you've come through it, and you've come through it so successfully. And now you're embarked on this fascinating new career in real estate. I wish you well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you saying that.
We're going to take a final break and come back with some concluding comments with Holly Carroll in just 2 minutes. Stay with us, everybody. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. My guest tonight is Holly Carroll. She's really quite an interesting person because she's gone through some things that most people would say are spectacular, but then some things that a lot of people would say are pretty crappy. She's been an international fashion model. She's traveled the world. She's been in Japan and Taiwan and Paris and New York, and she's lived in Los Angeles, and she's been on runways and in catalogs and wearing lots of beautiful clothes. And then because of, it would appear, some bad relationships and maybe some bad decisions with alcohol, she's gone through some tough times, and she had to get through those tough times. She had a couple of great opportunities. One was becoming Miss Canada Tourism. Another one was getting an opportunity to launch a real estate business. And it seems that plus some coaching and some sobriety, et cetera, has really changed her life. And now she's embarked on this exciting career of real estate in Muskoka primarily, but I guess all around, because she's also selling in the Caribbean and elsewhere. And you say Georgian Bay and some of the smaller lakes. And so that's interesting. Holly, I wonder, you've gone through these great times as an international fashion model and these challenging times that you mentioned. If some young girl came to you and said that she wants to be a fashion model, or she wants to be an actress, or she wants to be a singer, she's got this big ambition, what would you tell her? What cautions would you give her? What suggestions, what advice?
The first thing I would say is believe in yourself. Don't let anybody else tell you what you can and can't do. That's my first thing. Believe in yourself. Second thing is find somebody that is a good role model. Find a coach, find a mentor, and someone that can kind of take you under your wing and, guide you in the right direction. Guide you in the right direction with integrity, as well as, really believing in yourself and your dreams. But I will tell you, you can do it. You can be anything you want to be. It's not a cliche. It's the truth.
And if someone came and said they were going through some personal challenges, some alcohol, some drugs, some mental health issues, what would you tell them?
I would say reach out. You're not alone. You are not alone, and you do not have to go through this alone.
It's interesting that you've taken this opportunity as a real estate broker, but also someone that's obviously been a very successful fashion model in the past, to really try to make a statement far beyond just being a real estate agent and impacting people's lives. Why is that?
It's important to me that whatever I do, that I'm helping other people. It's important to me. I have this purpose to do so. Like, I have this gift that I have to do this. It's very important to me that people know that they're not alone, that they can be anything they want to do. It's important to me. It's who I am. So I'm going for it.
I love this one headline in the magazine that said that it's a journey to net worth through self-worth. And I really think that's right, that you're not going to end up being successful financially if you don't have a positive self-worth.
Yeah. And if you don't, know who you really are, because what'll end up happening is you'll probably be somebody else and people will see that. So self-worth starts with self-awareness, and then it starts with doing some work. It's like you have to be self-aware. You have to be aware of what you're even doing and what energy you're giving out. So the self-worth comes with knowing thyself. So know yourself first so that you can work on yourself and then love yourself more
Holly
and more
Carroll,
and more.
thanks so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it. If people want to reach out to you and get your suggestions on which is the lake to buy in Muskoka, how do they get in contact with you?
The best way to get in contact with me is through my Instagram, which is at Holly Ann Carroll.
Okay. And the agency that you're with is called?
The Agency Muskoka.
Excellent. Well, thanks for joining us. I really wanted to share Holly Carroll's story with you because I think it really is inspiring. She's, as we talked about, gone through both the ups and downs, incredible success traveling the world as this, beautiful, gorgeous, successful, high fashion model on runways and catalogs that, the vast majority of people would only dream of that kind of a life. But then even those successful people, they have some challenges, they have some issues, they have some problems that to take them through that, what people sometimes describe as the dark night of the soul. And it sounds like Holly had those, but she got through it. So many people don't get through it. It's interesting. I just read a big article that probably lots of us have read about Matthew Perry, who, I spent night in and night out watching Friends on TV, and Matthew Perry going through his own problems with sobriety and how he didn't get through it for a long period of time because he was so successful. And sometimes some of those challenges are even more challenging to go through if you are successful. But he ultimately did get through it. And so I think there's some great suggestions in what Holly talks about in regards to mentors, finding people to emulate, to inspire you, sobriety groups, talking to other people that have gone through similar problems, or talking to people that have got just this image that attracts you, that you can emulate and that you can follow. I'm convinced that a positive attitude is so critically important, but it's not just a positive attitude. It's got to be a positive attitude that's realistic, and doing a whole bunch of hard work to achieve it. This idea of triggers, and then replacing the trigger that has a bad habit associated with a trigger that has a good habit associated with it. And you know what? I think we're going to be seeing great things from Holly Carroll in the future, and I look forward to following her career and seeing what great real estate she can sell, and then also seeing what a positive influence she can have on many of us in Canada. Holly, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
That's our show for tonight. I remind you, I'm on every Monday through Friday at 6 o'clock on 960 AM. You can stream me online at www.saga960am.ca, even in Muskoka. And all my podcasts and videocasts are on my website, briancrombie.com. My podcasts are on Audible, Apple, Speakeasy, etc. And my videos are on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a great night.